Hey, good morning. Thought we'd do a quick session today for my CLE on NFL agency and contract violations, some of the ethical considerations that come up and what you're going to do about this when it does happen. Let's bring up the seminar here. So you're a new agent and you're representing a kid that got drafted in the 7th round. It can get tricky. So we're going to talk about some of the rules that are set up by the NFLPA for agents, and it kind of puts you in a tough spot between being a fiduciary to the client, the player, and your obligations with the license to the NFLPA. The NFLPA really kind of runs the show. So I'm just going to read this over verbatim. This is prohibited conduct from the NFLPA toward agents under Section B13. It says contract advisors are prohibited from failing to advise the player and to report to the NFLPA any known violations by an NFL club of a player's individual contract. Good stuff. If you represent Russ Wilson or Tom Brady, those are top tier players. They want you to go get their money. If they're not getting their roster bonus, signing bonus, they're telling the agent, go get me my money and something more. Where it gets tricky is if you're representing a kid that was drafted in the 7th round and he's bounced around the league. He's just a guy. He's not a top tier player. He's on the practice squad sometimes. Sometimes he fills in playing special teams, just kind of barely hanging on. He's in and out of the league. If you tell him, I found out that the team violated your contract and I have an obligation to notify the NFLPA so they can look into it with the team. Bubble player is not going to be too happy about that because he doesn't want to jeopardize his spot in the league. He's barely hanging on and he does not want to get blacklisted. So now what do you do? On the one hand, you've got a fiduciary obligation to the player to follow their wishes to the best of your ability and what's legal and allowed. And on the other hand, the NFLPA requires you as an agent to notify them of contract violations by the team. So you're in a really tough spot. Got the obligation to your player. You want to keep him happy, but you want to keep your license too. So this is one of those things when you read through the NFLPA rules, and there's like 21 things agents must do. There's 32 things agents must not do. This is one of those ethical considerations that's going to come up with your client when you're representing those guys from the 6th and 7th round, and it puts you in a tough spot. So what's the point and why it's important? If you're an agent and you're dealing with these guys who are kind of the bottom tier players, have these conversations ahead of time, educate your player ahead of time so they know that when these issues come up, what your obligations are. That's going to be a big part of what you do for client management and being a fiduciary and educating your player. And it's also going to help you protect your license as an NFLPA licensed agent. Hope that helps.